G'day, welcome to Walking Through the Word. My name's James Hornby. I'm the lead minister of the All Saints Anglican Network. So join me as we walk through the Word, each week unpacking a portion of the Bible, and feel free to comment, to ask questions, to get involved, and we'll work through this together. I'm so glad you can join us. Duck inside as we get on to the next episode.
Well, as we look at this, you might be tempted to think, well, that's really good for Mary, but so what? And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but Mary's long gone, and what does this mean for you and I? How does this make a difference? And we have a tendency, don't we, just to be so narrow in our focus. And Mary isn't just concerned about what God has done for her. She has a sense, even at the beginning, that this is something that is bigger than her. This is something that the life that she's carrying will have an impact, not just on her, but on the whole world. God has been merciful to her, has remembered her humble state, but then she goes on to say, His mercy extends to those who fear Him from generation to generation. It is entirely consistent with God's nature. There are many stories throughout the Bible that actually speak of God lifting up the lowly, lifting up the humble, lifting up the down and out, the downtrodden, advocating for the poor, advocating for the crushed and the oppressed, working through those from whom all others would say is of no value or worth. And so Mary says, just as God has done that throughout history, He has done it for me, and He will continue to do it from generation to generation. His mercy extends to those who fear Him. It's entirely consistent with who God is. And I want to finish by looking at this second part of Mary's song and what God will do for those who are humble, as opposed to what God does or how God acts towards those who are proud and self-sufficient. This is what God does for the humble. His mercy extends to those who fear Him. He has performed mighty deeds with His arm. He has lifted up the humble, in verse 52. In verse 53, He has filled the hungry with good things. What Mary is saying, and what the Bible attests to, is that God will undertake for the underdog. God will undertake for the underdog. When I was growing up, there was a Christian band, a rock band called Audio Adrenaline, and they had a song called Underdog. And I loved that song, and it was a song that helped reflect on the life of Jesus and how, from many perspectives, if you didn't know who Jesus was, you'd think that He was the underdog. Well, God Himself has a history of acting towards the underdog, of lifting up those that others count out. And Mary says, just as He's done it for her in her experience, so He will continue to do it. He will continue to lift up the humble. He will continue to advocate for those that recognize their great need for help. But equally, listen to how God will work towards those who are proud, those who are self-sufficient, those who think they have no need of help. He has scattered, verse 51, those who are proud in their inmost thoughts. He has brought down rulers from their thrones. He has sent the rich away empty. See, God will undertake for the underdog, but He'll also oppose the self-sufficient and the proud. And when I think about my life and how I live, often it seems like I have a foot in both camps. There are days where I can't help but pat myself on the back and how wonderful I am and how well I'm doing, that I'm a self-made man, that I'm doing great things. And I find myself celebrating what appears to be my self-sufficiency, as if I'm somehow responsible, as if I somehow really control my world. Sometimes I think thoughts that are quite proud. But there are other days where my feet are firmly in the camp of humility, where I recognize actually that life happens, and good things have happened and bad things have happened, and I can't control it. But I can know the one who is in control of the universe, and I can trust in him, and I can have confidence that he will lift us up, lift me up, even as he lifted Mary. That he will show grace and mercy to me, even as he showed grace and mercy to Mary. And ultimately, God shows grace and mercy to us because of what he did through Mary in bringing his son into the world. And it's through Jesus that we get to know and experience and rest in the grace and mercy of God today. But we've got a bit to uncover through Luke's biography of Jesus before we get there. So as we think about Mary's song, a couple of things to take away, really, isn't there? God will undertake for the underdog. You might feel like life is too much for you right now. You might feel like you haven't been able to make good decisions about the kind of life that you're living. You might feel like life is too difficult, too overwhelming. You might feel like people are always passing you by, that you're unseen, unheard, that you're a nobody from nowhere. I want to encourage you that God sees. And he promises to lift up the humble, the unpretentious, those who know who they really are and know that they need his help. So if that's you, be encouraged. So as we finish up today, let's take away this simple truth that God will undertake for the underdog. We know this because he has done it throughout human history as recorded in the Bible, and he did it in the life of Mary, and so he will do it for those who are humble today, those who are unpretentious, those who don't project an image, those who recognize their need for help, for his help. If you know you need God's help today, you can be assured that he will provide it, because he will look upon your humble state and he will lift you up. On the flip side, those of us who live comfortably, and those of us who enjoy a good life and experience many good things, we need to be careful that we don't become proud, that we actually don't set ourselves up as rulers of our little kingdoms that we call our lives. Because God will oppose that. He will bring down the self-sufficient. We need to be careful, because pride and self-sufficiency are not the way to God. They're not the way to know God. They're not the way to experience God. They're actually barriers to knowing God and his great love for us. And as we think through that, let us work. If you're a believer in God, if you're not sure, you can still ask God to help us magnify him just as Mary did. That is, that God might take more of our minds, more of our field of view, as the way we look at life, we look at it through the lens of God in his goodness and sovereignty. And as we do, we might discover true joy. Joy in life, even in the midst of great trial and hardship. So thanks for joining me. Let's keep going. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks so much for watching, and if you made a comment, thanks for participating. Open to suggestions too, so let us know what would be helpful. If you did get something out of it, I'd love it if you just like and subscribe to our channel. Hit the like bell notification, hit the like. What it does, it really helps the YouTube algorithm and gets these out to more and more people. So we're not trying to build a massive following or a massive channel. We're actually just trying to communicate the truth of who Jesus is. And if that's something that resonates with you, we'd love your support by doing those two simple things. Thank you. See ya.